going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video, we're going to talk about the top 5 ways that you can identify a prison snitch. You know, while locked up, there's a couple of things that you never want to be classified as. One of them being somebody who's locked up with horrible charges. And the other is most certainly somebody who's gonna tell it. Now, real quick, there are some ways to avoid being categorized as either of these two things. One, don't catch you no horrible type of charges. And two, just don't be a snitch. But the unfortunate reality of it is that there are people who are gonna fall into either of these two categories. And today we are gonna talk about the top 5 ways for you to identify someone who will definitely snitch or who is a snitch. Now, if you've ever served time, you know it's pretty easy to tell who is doing the telling. I mean, usually these people are already identified, labeled, getting beat up on a daily basis like they should be. But let's say that you've never served time before, or there's somebody new on the compound that nobody really knows. Nobody knows this guy from any other prisons or jails, or nobody knows this guy from the free world, which that right there in itself, if there's a new guy coming to a compound that nobody knows about, nobody knows him from anywhere else at all, that there in itself could definitely be a telltale sign that there might be something wrong with this guy. But regardless, with these characteristics that I'm about to tell you about, if you meet somebody while serving time who falls into like 2 or 3 of these different categories, then it's pretty safe to say that there is a good chance this guy, he is either a snitch or he might be willing to tell something. But on the flip side, if a person only falls into like one of these categories, you might want to approach that situation with some caution before trying to label that guy as such, as a snitch. Because let me just tell you, if you are about to claim that a person is a snitch, no matter whether they are or whether they're not, you better be ready to do so with not one, but at least like 2 pairs of shoes on, because you are definitely going to be doing some fighting afterwards. I mean, think about it. If a person is a snitch and you go up and try to say that about them, hey man, I just watched this After Prison Show video about the top 5 ways to identify a prison snitch, and you fall into one of these categories, I'm thinking you's a snitch for real. Again, even if a person is a snitch and you try to call them out saying that they are probably in all likelihood going to try to fight you because they don't want nobody else thinking that they are. And if you call somebody a snitch in prison, those are absolute fighting words, no matter whether they are or whether they're not. Now, if you do throw this claim out there about somebody and they are not a snitch, they're not going to beat you up not 1 time, not 3 times, but most certainly, they're probably going to try to beat you up twice. Because calling somebody out for the wrong thing in prison, that's the wrong place to do any of that. And 2 wrongs in prison, they don't make a right. You see how I did that right there? I was looking for a way to incorporate that. It probably didn't flow as smoothly as I was hoping it would, though. But 2 wrongs, they don't make a right anywhere. Not even in prison. But it's with all of that being mentioned, then what do you say we go ahead and dive head first into these 5 ways to identify a prison snitch. The first identifying factor of a potential prison snitch is talking too much to the guards. And I mean, in a lot of cases, this is usually a dead ringer for somebody who is definitely doing some telling. When you're serving time, you definitely do not want to be having that much communication, if any at all, communication with the guards. Because to all of the other people who are in there with you that you're serving time with, that is not going to be a good look for you at all. Hey, why that dude over there talking to the police so much? Why he always in the guard's face? Every time the guards come in here, he's always talking to... Hey, is that dude passing a note to the guard right there? I gotta hurry up and give this to you. I can't let nobody see it. Look, this is all of the known gang members in this housing unit right. They're coming for me! You gotta get me out of here! I just broke the button on my pants. I gotta lose some weight. That's crazy. You definitely do not want to be having that much communication at all with the guards. I mean, it is very easy for something like that to be taken out of context. Hell, even handing a request form to the guards. A request form where you can write a request to medical or maybe property or commissary. You got to be very careful when doing that, because anytime you're passing a piece of paper to the guards, that could potentially be a very bad look for you. And when you're doing something like that, handing a request form to the guards, you want to make sure at least like 10 other prisoners know that's a request form you're handing to them. I got a request form right here. I'm just trying to find out about my commissary. There's nothing on here incriminating to anybody else. It's a request form. Guard, come here and take this. Where's my commissary at? Ah! That is pretty much verbatim how you have to hand a request form to the correctional officers inside of a prison. Now, there's another side to this whole talking to the guard business that I want to address real quick. And that is, you might think that it would be okay if like a prisoner was talking to a female guard all the time. As she's coming into the housing unit like, hey, there go that girl right there. There go that girl CO right there. I'm about, hey, guard, hey, I got some swelling right here. I need you to check on this swelling for me. You might be serving time seeing a guy talking to a female guard all the time, and you might even think that's okay. You might just think like, man, this dude pitiful right here. I mean, always in this female's face. What do you think, he gonna go home and marry this girl? What do you think, she gonna wait 50 years for him to get released and they gonna be together forever? Man, that dude been reading too many Twilight books in here. I'm sorry, I have no idea what a Twilight book is about. It was the first book that came to mind. Don't ask me why. But again, you might be seeing a guy who spends a lot of time in a female guard's face, and you might even think that's okay. He's just trying to bag that chick. He's just trying to potentially shore up his soulmate, or whatever kind of X-rated fantasies he's got going on inside of his own mind. That might be what you're thinking. However, you're also gonna have to watch for those guys too, because you know, as they're trying to kick game to these female guards, there's a good potential that a way they might go about trying to really grasp her attention is by, I've been noticing you in here for like the last 15 years doing your rounds, and I think you'd be looking at me in the shop. I don't know, it might just be all in my head, but look, I just want to let you know, I got this book right here that I wrote this book. It's not a novel, no, and it's not my life story. It's actually everybody that I'm in here serving time with and all the contraband that's underneath their bed. Oh, now you want to talk to me. I like that, girl. I like that. Wait, I'm going to get you my other book. My other book, 10 times better. Going to put some stripes on your arm, girl. I'm going to make you a lieutenant in this place. Yeah. So no matter whether it's a man or a woman guard, you always got to watch out for any prisoner who's spending way too much time talking to either gender of correctional staff. The second way to identify a prison snitch is a prisoner who always disappears at very odd times. Maybe they're getting called out after lockdown when no other prisoners are getting called out for anything or should be getting called out. Cherry to the lieutenant's office right now. Cherry, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Come to the lieutenant's office right now. Bring your pen and your piece of paper with all of those names on it. And you know, the crazy thing about this is anytime you see a prisoner who's disappearing at odd times, especially while everybody else is locked down, they're always going to have an excuse for why they're getting called out at that time. The lieutenant, he likes me a lot. He likes me a lot. He called me out at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna go watch TV in his office. I'm such a good behaving prisoner, I am. Oh, you good behaving for real. So good behaving, in fact, you're gonna tell on everything. Now, you know, it's this disappearing at odd times that brings up a little prison story I want to share with all of you. Because while I was at the last prison I was at, there was this guy that was in a wheelchair. He was like this Italian little mobster dude with a little bathroom bag on his side. I think they call that like a glossectomy bag. I don't know what it's called. It's just absolutely disgusting. If you've ever seen anybody with that and they open it up, it's like straight tear gas inside of that thing. But there was this major rumor that this guy was definitely a snitch. And it was said that when this guy would go to pill call, because they would have pill call in the morning, pill call at lunchtime, pill call in the evening time, but it was said that when he would go to pill call in the evening time, before he would go to the pill window to pick up his medication, or whatever kind of medication he was actually taking, he would actually shoot on over to the watch commander's office and feed them some information first about anything that he had seen during the day. It was the craziest damn thing. And another crazy thing about this is this guy usually got pushed around by another prisoner so that he didn't have to wheel himself around. So you got to imagine that if this guy was actually doing what everybody was saying that he was doing, well, then the guy who was pushing him around, he weren't no better. And what if this guy who was pushing him around wasn't telling anything? What if he was just sitting outside the watch commander's office while this guy was in there spilling his guts out of the side of this glossectomy bag? Oh, God, that's the nastiest thought in the world. And again, the guy who was standing outside, he was none the wiser. And I'm not saying that he was, I'm just saying that's a really crazy situation to be put in, because if the guy that you're pushing around in a wheelchair is already labeled as a snitch, well then you, by pushing him around, could very easily get that same name tag applied to you as well. So this brings up a very valid point, which is you definitely have got to watch who you associate with anytime you're doing time. Hell, you gotta watch who you associate with in the free world. So, you know what? That's just a good rule of thumb for life. Really watch who you kicking it with, who you out there rocking with. The third identifying factor for a prison snitch is someone who gets a lot of favoritism from the guards. Now, this could be anything from getting some extra trays in the chow hall, which, crazy enough to admit this, but guys will tell for virtually nothing at all when they're serving time. I mean, there's guys who will snitch for some extra prison food. They ain't even getting no time cuts, they snitching for extra trays. This special type of favoritism could also apply in a disciplinary setting. Like, say for example, someone does call this guy out for being a snitch and they get to fighting and he doesn't go to the hole. Well, anytime anyone gets to fighting in prison, both parties, for the most part, are going to the hole. And the only time this wouldn't happen is if, well, one, they don't get caught fighting, two, the guards are okay with them fighting, or three, one of them guys, he's doing some telling. Well, why I'm going to the hole and you ain't taking him to... I knew I was fighting me a snitch. I knew I called out the right person. Special favoritism could apply to maybe there's a particular guard who treats most every other prisoner like they ain't worth the dirt on the ground. Yet whenever this guard is working, he's okay with this one particular individual. Why does God treat everybody in here like trash, yet he's laughing and joking with that guy right there? Well, there's probably a very good reason for that. Moving on to number 4, and this one is probably the most sinister of them all in my personal opinion. And this is crime versus punishment. Now, at the beginning of this video, I said that, if you can identify a prisoner who falls into like multiple of these 5 categories, maybe like 2 or 3 of these, then there's a pretty good chance that guy is a snitch. However, with this crime versus punishment category, I truly believe that this one by itself can be a rock solid way for you to identify somebody who has definitely done some telling. And if they've done it one time, you best believe they'd be willing to do it again. But when meeting people in prison, one very common question that is oftentimes asked a lot is, what are you in for? And the reason this question is oftentimes okay to ask is because of the fact that everybody wants to know who that guy is who is housed beside them, bunking in the same cell with them. Everybody wants to know who they're in there with. And they want to make sure they ain't in there with nobody who's got some messed up charges or anything like that. But if a guy tells you he's got like distribution charges, gun charges, a whole bunch of really crazy charges that carry a lot of time, no matter what those charges are, but again, you just know these are the charges that carry like boatloads of time. And then that guy tells you, yeah, I've got like distribution of every single drug there is. I got caught with 3 guns and 2 stolen cars. And I only got 8 months. I ain't no prison GED math tutor or nothing like that, but something ain't adding up. You telling me you done stole 3 ATMs in the back of a stolen truck, and you got caught with a grenade launcher too, and you got 30 days. Wow, who's your lawyer? Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and tell you what all of my charges are right now, because maybe the guy that helped you, he could help me too. If the crime does not match the punishment, that is usually a telltale sign that someone, they done did them some telling. Moving on to the 5th identifying factor for a potential prison snitch is someone who asks way too many questions. This is not CNN. This is not Dateline. This is no type of interview. We are serving time. Why are you asking me everything pertaining to my charges? And then the damnedest thing about it is you will have guys who will go right ahead answering all of those questions. I done seen it so many times. It is so crazy to watch guys spill their guts to their cellmates, to their bunkies, to whoever, thinking they done met them some type of a prison best friend forever. And then that guy is leaving at all sorts of odd times throughout the night, throughout the day. Hey, why my bunkie get 16 visits from his lawyer this week? But there are certain questions that are okay to ask in certain settings, like, what are you in for? How much time do you got? I mean, you can't ask this to just anybody. You can't just walk up on anybody, the biggest, baddest dude in the prison, and be like, hey, what you in here for anyways? How much time? But anybody who asks a lot of questions while serving time, that is usually a telltale sign that they're trying to cut off some of the time they got to serve themselves. Okay, so you said the crime was committed on Thursday and you went in through the back window of your ex-girlfriend's house with a gas can. Why are you writing everything down that I'm saying? Don't pay me anymore. I'm just writing a book that I'm going to send to the prosecutor about you. I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to mention it again. You really got to watch who you associate with, no matter where you're at in life. You know, these rules can be applied to not only serving time, but also probably out here as well. And again, if you meet people who fall into like 2 or 3 of these categories, or maybe that one whole crime versus punishment one by itself, there's a good chance that person is a snitch. So watch for people like that. You really got to watch for them. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something from it. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what that was. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!